What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and today we have a brand new Anthem update discussing the latest information in BioWare's new game. And so, let's get started. Now, there has been a few actually pretty big pieces of information that came out recently about Anthem, and let's just jump in to the biggest thing, which is early access to Anthem. So, we all know that Anthem is coming out February 22nd, 2019. But there was definitely some information floating out there that, well, maybe you would gain access to Anthem a little bit early via EA Access. EA Access being something that you can pay, I think it's $5 a month, and you get to play a bunch of vaulted games that EA has, so like older Battlefields and so on. But something that has been a feature of EA Access is the fact that you can play new games early. For example, with Mass Effect Andromeda, you could play a week early. You had a 10-hour period that you could play, or 10 hours in total that you could spend playing the game, and you would get a little bit of a jump when the game did come out on its proper release date. Well, is Anthem doing the same thing? Shorthand, yes, and we've got all the details about that exchange. So firstly, let's talk about the earliest of early access, which are demos and betas. So Mark Dara, in his tweet explaining all this information, starts out with, you will get access to pre-launch demos with pre-order. So, demos, although that terminology is used because perhaps it has more of a single-player vibe, you're doing certain missions or so on, a multiplayer beta is more definitely indicative of stuff like PvP for Black Ops 4. They had a beta and it was all multiplayer. But a demo may actually indicate that Anthem's, kind of beta, Anthem's pre-launch thing will have more of a single player or story focus, which is kind of cool. But you will gain access to that with pre-ordering. So if you pre-order the game, don't worry about it. You should be right into those betas. However, this terminology does make it seem like potentially there won't be an open access beta for Anthem, and the only way you will gain access is pre-ordering. I mean, there's nothing about open access in here at all. And of course, that's a little bit disappointing. You want all players to be able to get their hands on it, not just the people who pre-ordered the game, but this could just be shorthand for Twitter. Let's wait until a little bit more information comes out. Moving on from there, of course, the game launches on February 22nd. Here we get into the early access stuff. So, EA Access on the Xbox and Origin Access on the PC will give you 10 hours of access on February 15th. And again, I believe on February 15th, you have these 10 hours that you can spend. You don't necessarily have to spend them on February 15th. You can play on the 16th, 17th, whenever, but you have 10 banked hours of Anthem playtime, essentially. So, as we somewhat suspected, EA Access will give you 1 week early access to Anthem for that limited time period. But moving on, this is where things get really interesting. With the Origin Access Premiere, which very recently came out, it gives you full access on February 15th. Full access. So I guess that just means you get to play Anthem 1 week early, period. Like, you will get to play as much as you want. There's no time period. And, assumedly you will have access to the entirety of the game. Potentially you could get into the end game and so on within that week period. Now, of course, they could come out later and add stipulations to this, like perhaps it's only until the end of the campaign and then you're locked off and stuff like that. But, judging from this tweet, judging from the information we have right now, if you have the Premier Origin Access, you're just going to get to play the game a week earlier with no strings attached. Now, for those of you wondering, Origin Access Premier is $20 a month as opposed to $5, but I assume, as with EA Access, that you can cancel at any time. So you should be able to sign up for Premiere. You will have to pay that $20, but then you get a week early access to Anthem, and as soon as that's done, as soon as the game, properly comes out on the 22nd, you can just cancel it. And you basically pay $20 one time for a week early access. Now, the super fans out there are going to think that's a fantastic deal. A week early access for $20, I think for a lot of games that people are hyped for, people would be totally happy to pay that any time. With that being said, I'm not entirely sure I'm super on board with this. I don't think this is the worst thing ever by any means, but essentially they're saying that the game is going to be finished on February 15th, and then the people who pay a little bit more gain access to that. Frankly, it's a little bit more fun when there's a global release and everyone is experiencing the game at relatively the same time. But I'd be really interested to know what you guys think. Is this a little bit of a cash grab, giving the advantage to people who are willing to pay extra, or is this an awesome way to let your fans play a game they're already looking forward to earlier than they otherwise would? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Now, moving on from there, we have some more just baseline Anthem information. So, at Gamescom, BioWare doubled down on their pledge essentially to keep adding new content, saying that this is an open world game, there's going to be so many things to do after you hit the max level, and they said that they're going to be adding new content to the game all the time. Now, whether that's actual, new levels, new areas to play, or special events and stuff like, Iron Banner and Destiny, but in this game, obviously there's no PvP, but those kind of limited time events, or some sort of mix of both, we don't exactly know, but, they're doubling down on saying, look, we're adding more content all the time. That's a really good thing. Now, speaking of some of these content additions and events, something kind of new we found out is that we knew that there was going to be public events, world events within Anthem, especially in the free play mode, where you go out and just explore the world. There'll be an attack on a friendly base, or a giant monster will spawn or something like that. You can go and intervene with the help of other players who are in the free play mode as well. But something we learned in Gamescom is that there's going to be two different kinds of events. There's going to be random events. Now, random events are, again, going to be things like public events, those things I just described. But there's also going to be scheduled events. So that's really interesting. Those two types of events, random and scheduled. So scheduled could be those limited time events I was talking about earlier, where, every Wednesday something happens in this particular location and it's a big event. You're trying to get a lot of the player base involved in that. Or hypothetically, you could have an area of the map that's having this sort of scheduled event in it, and potentially you're going in and collecting, faction resources or faction reputation for a certain limited time reward that's in place. That would be another example of a scheduled event, where it's like, okay guys, at the end of February 25th to the 27th, there's going to be some big event where these special creatures are spawning on this part of the map, and you want to go in and kill as many of them as you can to, earn rewards or something. And that would accomplish these two different things that we talked about. The constant content giving people a reason to come back and play the game, and these scheduled events that we just found out about. Now, something else that was expanded upon is your Strider. Now, the Strider is that massive mechanized walker that we did see at the beginning of the newest gameplay trailer shown in the background here. Now, it actually was said by BioWare that there's going to be several different ways in which they deliver story. The main way is at Fort Tarsis. So for those who don't know, when you're out in the world doing missions and so on, you can either go about it solo, or you can team up with people. There's built-in matchmaking for every facet of the game pretty much. But when you go into Fort Tarsis, you're solo. It's kind of an anti-social space. Now, it's going to be filled with NPCs and quests and so on, but this area is going to be where BioWare delivers the story, because it's a solo experience and they're going to have NPCs talking to you and interacting with you, and you accept quests and accept your consequences for quests that you complete, all in Fort Tarsis. But actually, somewhere else you are going to be able to do this is your Strider. BioWare says that your Strider and Fort Tarsis are going to be where they try to deliver the story. Now, we did see an example of this again within the gameplay trailer, that there was a cutscene and the NPCs were talking and interacting with the player in this Strider. But it's interesting that BioWare referred to this as your Strider. It could have easily been that this was a one-off mission and there just happened to be a cutscene within this Strider. But it says that we're going to deliver a story to you in your Strider. So actually, you're going to get one of these massive mechanized walkers. You're going to get your own AT-AT, and potentially you're going to be able to move it around wherever you want in the world. That would be such an amazing feature, is you station your Strider somewhere so that you can use it as a base of operations, go into the world, explore, collect resources, go back to your Strider. And something else that BioWare said is that The way the loot system works in Anthem is that you're going to go out and collect the loot in the world, so you're going to kill enemies and do stuff, and that's going to drop weapons and gear for your javelin and so on, but you won't be able to equip it. If you get a brand new assault rifle, you will not be able to equip that assault rifle until you go back to Fort Tarsis and decrypt it essentially, and, identify this loot, see what it is, and then at Fort Tarsis, you have the option to equip new loadouts and change all your gear and all of that stuff. Now that's done mainly so that you focus on the battle. You aren't distracted by this loot dropping and constantly in your menu when you should be helping with the mission at hand. So you focus on the mission, and then after that you can go and check out your sweet loot. But the new thing we learned is that you're also going to be able to do this on your Strider. So you're going to be able to go to your Strider and decrypt your loot and equip your loot. There's going to be a fully built-in forge system that'll let you change how your javelin works on your Strider. And that's another great example of, hopefully the feature that they're using all this stuff for, which is your Strider as your base of operation. Now, a couple of other interesting things confirmed in tweets is, firstly, in case you were worried coming from Destiny especially, whether or not cosmetics would be consumable or unlimited. So if you get a new shader or a new paint for your javelin, will you be able to unequip that, re-equip that whenever you want, or will you use it up when you do, again, a la Destiny? Turns out, thankfully, the cosmetics will be unlimited. You can do whatever you want with them, equip them as many times as you want, change them as many times as you want. Great news there. But also, something else that was confirmed is that you'll be able to select from several different materials for your javelin. So you can potentially go with, a purely metallic finish. You can go with a more rough finish. You can go with a carbon fiber finish, a glass. I don't know what all the options are going to be, but it's really cool that they do have this feature, and hopefully it'll make a big difference. I would imagine that, a javelin with a certain paint style and a certain material would look very different from another javelin in the same paint style but a very different material, like a rough or a completely smooth, like shiny, like the finish. That's going to actually be a whole nother layer of customization that I didn't necessarily expect, but I'm definitely looking forward to now. And so guys, that's pretty much it. The next time we're going to hear a big chunk of Anthem information is on September 1st with PAX. There's going to be a big story panel that BioWare is doing, and we will definitely cover that information on this channel. And so guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Anthem content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.